What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Ever since the Poco F1 came in the market, everyone was waiting for the next Poco phone, and after waiting for 1.5 years, they announced their comeback in December last year. But it was not the same company which we had 2 years back. Poco is now an independent brand. At least what they said. In February 2020, they launched their second phone called the Poco X2, and it was a really good phone for the price. But the problem is, it was actually a rebranded Redmi K30. Then later on, they launched two phones, Poco F2 Pro and the Poco M2 Pro, and again, both of them were just rebranded Redmi phones. This new approach by the company of rebranding Redmi phones affects the reputation of the Poco brand. In September, they launched the Poco X2 successor, the Poco X3. This is the Poco X3. This is the second phone after the Poco F1 which is not a rebranded phone. I have been using this phone for past 48 hours and here are my initial thoughts on it. The unboxing experience is very much similar to the Poco M2 Pro. So at the top we have the packet which contains a SIM ejector tool, a user manual and a silicone case. Beneath that we have the phone itself. This is the Shadow Grey color 6 128GB variant. Then we have the 33-watt power adapter and a Type-C to Type-A cable. That's it, that's what we get inside the box. Okay, by the way, if this is your first time here, then please consider subscribing the channel. Now back to the phone. The first thing I immediately noticed holding this phone is how thick this phone is. It's almost 25% more thicker than the M2 Pro. The phone also weighs 225 grams, which is just crazy. Still, it didn't feel that heavy, especially when compared to the M2 Pro. This phone, despite being heavier than the M2 Pro, felt lighter than it. So yeah, X3 definitely has the better weight management. But again, these are just my experience. I have been using the M2 Pro as my primary phone, hence I am comfortable with the X3. It might not be perfect for all, so do look out for that before making any decisions. Now coming to the design, personally I don't care much about the design of a phone, but that camera layout, I just can't unsee that. Accompanied with that huge Poco logo, this is one of the weirdest designed phone I have seen in a while. At front, we have the same 6.67-inch IPS Full HD Plus display which you have seen in most of the Xiaomi phones under 20k. The screen has a 450 nits of max brightness, so yeah, it is pretty much visible even in the harsh sunlight. What not so common on phones under 20k is that 120Hz refresh rate. This makes phone felt much more snappier and faster than a similar spec 60Hz phone. Again, if you are coming from a 60Hz display phone, you won't notice difference immediately, but once you switch back to 60Hz display, you will feel the difference. The display also supports HDR10, so watching HDR videos on YouTube is quite an experience. There is a wideband L1 support too, hence you can stream Prime Video and Netflix in Full HD resolution. Also, to my surprise, this phone even comes with a stereo speaker support and sound quality is just amazing. It also gets pretty loud and doesn't feel distorted at higher volume. It's really an amazing speaker setup. I'm quite impressed by the sound quality. Only problem is that the phone's back tend to vibrate at just above 40% volume. So stereo speakers accompanied with the gorgeous HDR10 display makes it a perfect phone for media consumption. Now onto the performance. Poco X3 comes with a new Snapdragon 732G processor, which is basically a slightly upgraded version of the 730G which we find on the Poco X2. General day-to-day tasks work like a breeze, but the phone does stutter sometimes, like while opening recent panels or doing multitasking. Maybe because of the mid-range chip, it wasn't able to boost that much FPS, or might be just because of the adaptive refresh rate. Now, I also played some casual games and the performance is pretty consistent. Now talking about the battery, this phone comes with a massive 6000 mAh battery, and this might be the reason why the phone is so bulky. No doubt this phone will easily give 8 hours plus of screen on time, that too when the refresh rate is set to 120Hz. There is a 33-watt charging support. I haven't checked its 0 to 100% charging time yet, but I plugged the phone to charge at 30% and after 30 minutes, it hit the 75% mark, which is pretty quick considering its battery size. Poco X3 comes with a quad camera setup, out of which two of them are useless 2 megapixel depth and macro cameras. At least they would have provided the 5 megapixel macro camera, the one which was present on the Poco M2 Pro, that would have made it at least usable. The primary camera is a 64 megapixel Sony IMX682 sensor. As of now, it takes good photos in daylight, but I feel the low light photos could have been better. There is also a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera, and the photos from the ultra wide camera are also very good. There is not much of a color shift compared to the primary camera like other phones in the price range, but yeah, there are lack of details compared to the main cameras. Now these are just my initial thoughts. I will share more details in my full review. As of features, it comes with ton of inbuilt camera features like long exposure mode, vlog mode, clone mode and lot more. There is also a 960 slow-mo support at 720p, so it's a feature-loaded camera app. So yeah, I am pretty much impressed by this phone, especially the speakers and the battery. This phone retails for 16,999 for the 664GB variant. Recently, during the sales, this phone is getting a 2500 discount that brings the price to around 15k, and at that price, I think it's the best phone out there. Okay, that's been it. Do comment down below if you have any questions regarding the Poco X3. Also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Until then, thanks for watching. Talk to you guys in the next one.